Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, FD465.tv, and we are bringing you another DYO or risk evaluation on usual protocol. We want to cover what it is and whether it is a project I should be jumping in once I've done my own research. And it is that research that I want to share with you today. But before I jump into that research, guys, please note that I am not a financial advisor. If you do require financial advice, please approach someone who is actually trained to give you financial advice. The information contained in this video is just for educational as well as entertainment purposes, and this content is also not intended for UK audiences for the sole reason that the UK authorities do deem anything crypto related to be extremely risky. Therefore, they're trying to protect you just in case you end up losing your funds. You don't want to lose your funds, right? So you should follow instructions. That's it, guys. Let's come back to usual protocol. Another protocol that I think is going to make a dent within DeFi and is going to be competing with the likes of Circle and its USDC as well as Tether's USDT, and there will be others as well. I think there is Ethena that does a stable coin, but it does it differently. So I think usual is trying to break into that category. Let's see how good an investment it is if I wanted to jump into usual protocol today. So let's start by describing what usual protocol is or usual is. Usual is a decentralized platform that issues a fiat-backed stablecoin, ticker symbol USD0, and it redistributes ownership and governance through the usual governance token. Based in France, usual was founded in 2022 and it managed to raise 10 million via Crunchbase as part of the project's Series A funding round. The protocol is built on the principles of stability, transparency, and decentralization using a three-token system in USD0 or USDO, which is the stable coin, USDO++, which is the liquidity staking token, as well as usual, which is the governance token. Its goal is to provide a stable, permissionless financial tool within the DeFi ecosystem without the risks of traditional centralized stablecoin. Key tokens and their roles, we're talking of those three tokens, USDO, USDO++, as well as the usual token. Starting with the USDO, which is the core stablecoin, its purpose is to act as a decentralized stablecoin fully backed by short-term liquid and risk-free assets such as treasury bills or other secure instruments. And the unique selling points for the USDO include the fact that there is no counterpart risks, no dependence on banks or centralized entities, avoiding issues like depegging due to liquidity risks. Another unique selling point for USDO is its permissionless and composable nature or attributes, easily integrated across the DeFi ecosystem for lending, borrowing, payments, and much more. We also have transparency for USDO, where asset backing and operations are publicly verifiable. Moving on to the USDO++, which is the liquidity staking token for USDO holders. So if you hold the stablecoin, you get the USDO++, which is the liquidity staking token for USDO holders. And its purpose is to provide liquidity while earning rewards through protocol fees. So they're actually giving rewards back to the users of the platform. As users stake their USDO, they receive USDO++ in return, representing their share of staked assets and potential growth, unlike the likes of Tether, where they are keeping the profits for themselves. So if this works for usual, the likes of Tether and Circle could be in trouble here. And how is that reward distributed? Well, stakers are rewarded in usual tokens, aligning incentives to drive adoption and ensure ecosystem participation. So that's again generating demand for the usual token. And lastly is the usual governance token itself, also known as revenue sharing token. And its purpose is to distribute ownership of the protocol to users and participants while also functioning as a governance token. Backed by real protocol generated cash flows such as fees from USDO transactions and staking mechanism, holders participate in decision making including protocol upgrades, treasury management, and reward distribution structures. The usual token is also distributed as a reward to incentivize the growth and adoption of the USDO across DeFi platforms. Let's look at some of the key features for usual protocol. Let's start with the stablecoin with risk-free asset backing. Well, it can't be 100% risk-free because everything on this planet has got some risk involved. The USDO token is backed by short-term liquid and risk-free assets such as treasury bills or equivalents, or you also have the risk of inflation around that, ensuring its stability without relying on banks or centralized intermediaries. It is also permissionless and transparent, fully composable and integrated within DeFi protocols with public transparency on its reserves and financial activity. Holders of USDO can stake their tokens and receive USDO++, allowing them to earn usual rewards without losing liquidity. And the usual token, also known as the revenue generating token, allow holders to benefit from protocol revenues generated through transaction fees and staking activities, creating an ownership model backed by real cash flow. And for those who've been saying, where is the cash flow in Bitcoin or stablecoins? There is your cash flow. And finally, we've got incentive-driven token growth, where the adoption of USDO is incentivized through usual token rewards, thereby aligning protocol growth with user participation. So as the protocol grows through user participation, participants within that ecosystem, they'll also benefit a lot through the usual rewards. So I think this is a solid, well-founded protocol with decent use cases from our point of view. I quite like that. Moving on to the value proposition for usual. Well, stable, risk-free stablecoin. Unlike traditional stablecoins that rely on reserves held at banks, for example, USDC and USDT, USDO eliminates counterparty risks by relying on short-term liquidity assets like treasury bills. It is fully permissionless, composable, and easily integrated into DEXs, lending platforms, and other DeFi applications. Users can stake USDO for passive income in usual tokens while maintaining liquidity through the USDO++ staking token. And finally, usual token holders also gain exposure to protocol revenues through protocol revenue sharing, thereby creating a direct link between ecosystem growth and holder value. So that is our brief description of usual protocol and the key features as well as the value proposition. Now we move on to the next stage now, where we are applying our DYO or risk evaluation, consisting 13 elements in decentralization, security, scaling, interoperability, the project team, age of the project, social media presence via X, formerly Twitter, as well as via Discord, the protocol's use cases, as well as the token use cases, before moving on to the tokenomics and token distribution. Starting off with decentralization, Usual uses the usual token for decentralized decision making, allowing holders to vote on critical issues such as treasury allocation, protocol upgrades, and reward structures. Reserves are publicly auditable, with all financial activities verifiable on-chain. While USDO's decentralized nature is promising, full decentralization will depend on whether its governance is sufficiently distributed and if any centralized entities are involved in managing its reserves. As you'll find out, when it comes to token distribution, there are no centralized entities, but obviously the team and any investors will be centralized. But as you'll also notice, I do not think that they hold enough to control where the project goes in terms of the usual tokens, that is. While USDO's decentralized nature is promising, there is one point of concern though under decentralization. If a large share of usual tokens is held by a small number of entities, this could compromise governance. Obviously, whales and anyone with deeper pockets can easily buy a bunch of these. Obviously, the price will skyrocket, but they will be able to gain control. You know, the likes of BlackRock will be watching this. Moving on to safety and security. Is usual secure enough to safeguard user and investment funds? Well, let's start with reserve security. Since USDO is backed by risk-free assets, i.e. short-term treasuries, it is less prone to depegging events caused by financial crises or bank collapses. We are yet to see that though, but at the moment, in theory, this is it. The security of the platform also depends on the smart contracts that underwent rigorous third-party audits, and there are governance safeguards as well, where security also depends on decentralized governance, preventing hostile takeovers or that 51% risk. Here, as we said, under token allocation, the team and investors were allocated 10%. The 90% is going to the community. It's not fully allocated. I think so far only 15.1 or 0.2% is in circulation. So there's a long way to go. So overall assessment when it comes to security, usual seems designed to minimize systemic risks, but proper smart contract security and governance mechanisms are critical to its robustness. Moving on to scaling. USDO's design as a stablecoin backed by short-term assets provides a stable framework that can handle large-scale issuance and redemption of stablecoin. Usual will rely on the scalability of its underlying blockchain, that is Ethereum, the Ethereum layer 2 solutions or alternatives like EVM chains like Avalanche and so forth to process high transaction volume. Adoption of rollups, layer 2 solutions or off-chain scalability solutions like the ones we just covered, your Arbitrum, Optimism and so forth, will be essential for handling large DeFi demands without bottlenecks. So far, not bad. Can Usual interoperate with other networks or blockchains? Well, for now, Usual appears to be focused on being DeFi first, meaning it will aim to integrate with decentralized exchanges or DEXs, lending platforms, and staking applications within its chosen ecosystem. But it can also use bridges and wrappers to enhance its cross-chain liquidity and further adoption. Currently available on Base and the Ethereum mainnet, and obviously compatible with EVM-compatible chains like Avalanche, Cosmos, and so forth. As USDO is designed to be fully permissionless, developers can easily integrate into their protocol. So any developer, because this is decentralized, can actually connect to Usual protocol. Onto the project team. According to LinkedIn, Usual boasts between 11 to 50 team members. I could not see any specific information on that. Social media presence via X, formerly Twitter, Usual boasts just over 126,800 followers, and on Discord, just over 27,690 Discord members. Moving on to the use cases for usual. Protocol use cases, you got lending and borrowing, where users can lend USDO on DeFi platforms for interest to borrow against its collateral. USDO can serve as a means of payment within decentralized applications and marketplaces. Users can deploy USDO in liquidity pools to earn trading fees. USDO, which is the core stablecoin, is used across DeFi applications. USDO++, which is the liquid staking token, provides passive income and liquidity, and the usual token itself is used for governance, where holders can vote and earn a share of protocol revenues. Moving on to the tokenomics for usual token. Ticker symbol usual, USUAL. The tokenomics of usual are structured around two main phases. You got the usual token issuance, where usual tokens are issued based on the amount of USDO++ minted. Each minting event triggers the issuance of a corresponding number of usual tokens, reflecting the growth in protocol activities and underlying assets. Then you have the distribution of usual to value contributors. Usual tokens are allocated to users who contribute value to the usual protocol. This distribution is designed to incentivize behaviors that enhance the protocol's growth, security, and overall adoption. Value contributors may include liquidity providers, active users, and partners who bring additional total value logged or TVL to the platform. Let's look at the incentive model for usual. Users of the protocol are rewarded in usual for staking, contributing liquidity, and driving adoption. But what are the potential risks? Well, excessive token inflation could dilute rewards. Monitoring supply mechanisms and ban mechanisms is quite key here. Token distribution, ticker symbol usual. Token supply 4 billion with a hard cap. Circulating supply 606.37 million or 15.2%. Distribution, like I said at the top of the video, 90% of the tokens are allocated to the community, 10% to the investors and the team, which is approximately 400 million to the team. So what are my thoughts when it comes to usual? Let's start with strength briefly. Fully decentralized stablecoin model addresses flaws seen in centralized stablecoins like USDC and USDT. Strong incentive model with usual ensuring growth, governance, and user engagement. Transparent reserve backing, providing stability and reduces systemic risks. What about the weaknesses? Adoption is key here. Success depends on deep integration into major DeFi ecosystems. Scalability and cross-chain interoperability must be achieved to ensure long-term viability. Potential centralization of governance power could undermine its decentralized promise. But then that will depend on whether the whales playing within the usual protocol or the usual protocol ecosystem, they've got the appetite to go and hold the usual tokens so that they can control the direction of the protocol. Look, where there is rent or profits to be made, nothing is impossible, but because this is decentralized, that might be an expensive venture to undertake. The success potential for usual, well, apart from the scoring that we are going to give you guys at the end of this video, if usual can secure broad adoption within DeFi, mainstream transparency and risk-free reserves, and grow its decentralized governance, it could become a major player within the stablecoin and decentralized finance space. And I'm sure most people will dump the tethers of the world and the circle of the world, which is USDT and USDC, and go and use the USDO stablecoin. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section. Let's move on to the scoring part now, where we are going to indicate how we feel about usual as a protocol. Is it a project that interests me? Is the research we just presented to you, has it been enough to convince me to jump into usual? Currently, I do not hold any usual, but let's see where the scoring goes. So a quick rundown of the 13 elements once more. You got decentralization, security, scaling, interoperability, the project team, social media presence via X, formerly Twitter, as well as via Discord. Age of the project use cases, tokens issued at project launch, total tokens in circulation at the time of recording, maximum tokens available, as well as insider token allocation. To kick us off is decentralization is 5 points out of 10, security 5 points out of 10, scaling 7.5 points out of 10, interoperability 7.5 points, project team 7.5 points, social media presence via X, formerly Twitter 7.5 points out of 10, social media presence via Discord 7.5 points out of 10, the age of the project created in 2022 5 points out of 10, use cases 7.5 points out of 10, tokens issued at project launch 2.5 points out of 10, total tokens in circulation at the time of recording 2.5 points out of 10, maximum tokens available at 4 billion with a hard cap 2.5 points out of 10. Inside the token allocation, according to my own assessment, I think 10% allocated to the team and early investors. 10% I think is quite reasonable. Do you guys agree with the scoring part of our assessment of usual protocol? Let us know in the comment section. So the aggregate score for usual protocol comes up to 77.5 points out of 130, which is a very respectable score considering this is a relatively new project, but I think it's got plenty of traction and I cannot see any issues with it gaining traction and grow further. Do you hold usual? For me, this research indicates to me that usual as a platform, it's a decent one and it sticks out, it stands out among some of the stablecoins out there. Yes, they've got history history, they've got legacy behind them, but unlike what usual protocol are proposing here, because sharing revenue with your users and your community will be key going forward. Unlike Tether and Circle, who are making the rewards and the incentives are designed for insiders, not the users of the protocol. We are the product when you are using Tether and USDC. Any thoughts? Let us know in the comment section. And yes, when the usual protocol drops from where it is, it might not drop, but it's around 44-45 cents at the moment at the time of recording. If it drops to say below 30 cents from this moment on, it may have dropped before, but from this moment on, if it drops below 30 cents, I will certainly make a move. Let us know if you are interested in usual protocol and if this research we just shared with you guys is enough to change your mind on usual if you were on the fence. Let us know in the comment section. Until the next one, this is FD for Sage5.tv signing out for now. Bye.